You're listening to Bigger Than Belief, real stories about real faith with real people whose belief is unbelievable. I'm your host, Adam Duxter. Thanks for listening to Bigger Than Belief. Today is Thursday, June 11th. As always, I'm your host, Adam Duxter. I hope that you guys are having a great June so far. My June in particular has been a challenge, both literally and metaphorically, but we'll focus on the literal to start off this episode of Bigger Than Belief. Folks in my small group initiated a challenge or are taking part in a challenge where every day for the month of June, there's something you have to do, both faith, family, physicality, finances, you name it. And the one thing that I am left thinking more than anything else is I don't know how people drink water every single day. We have a challenge to drink half your body weight in water every day. And it is knocking me out of the park so far this week, as far as just absolutely being a huge challenge. And I think that perhaps you're listening and you've got a challenge as well. Maybe June has been taxing on you. Maybe it's not a challenge that you're doing with your small group, but maybe it's a challenge that you've been having at work. Or maybe it's a challenge that you've been facing with your family. Maybe it is a challenge you've been facing with your faith. And this next guest that we're going to hear from today, I think is someone who understands the concept of a challenge really, really well, because she has taken on every challenge life has thrown her way and done so with grace and done so with dignity and has come out on the other side with success. And she is someone, if you live in the Twin Cities, whose name is like one of those one-word names where you just need to say the first name and people know who you're talking about, like Elvis or Pink or Madonna or Beyonce, because it is simply just Sheletta. Sheletta Brundidge has called the Twin Cities home now for decades, originally from Texas. It was a leap of faith, quite literally, for her to come to the Twin Cities. If you live around here, whether you know it or not, you've come in contact with either Sheletta or something that she's done, because she is a force to be reckoned with in the world of promoting, in the world of writing, in the world of hosting, in the world of emceeing, in the world of doing anything that regards or requires a personality. She's done it. And I think you guys are really going to like this conversation that we have with her today because it is super wide ranging. And she shares stories that she says she really, really ever shares about motherhood, about growing up and just having a crazy childhood experience that confirmed her belief, honestly, that God is real. She also gets really open and honest about what it's like being a parent of children with autism. 3 out of her 4 kids have autism. And she talks about wrestling with God with that, but also finding strength in that. It's a really awesome, wide-ranging episode, and it's one that I think you're really going to like. Folks, it's just so awesome to tell these stories week after week. Hosting Bigger Than Belief has been my favorite thing I've done at WCCO over the course of the 4.5 years that I've been here, and it would mean everything to me if you continue to listen. We're working super, super hard to bring on new guests every week that I think you're really going to like, and we're trying really hard to find a really wide range of guests, people who are athletes you root for, musicians you listen to, influencers you follow, people you've seen, people you've heard, but also people you've never heard of that just have incredible and awesome faith stories. I've got some really fun ones coming along the way. Hey, thanks to the 100 or so of you that have rated us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. If you're listening right now and you haven't done that, please take a minute to do that right now. Literally go on the episode page, scroll down, find the spot where it says 5-star rating. Please throw a 5-star rating on there. That would mean everything. And also, if you have some time, you've been listening to a couple of episodes maybe by this point, and you haven't written a review, please do a second to do just that. Just a couple of sentences. And honestly, Heidi, our producer, and I have been talking about some fun ways to incentivize that, maybe to get people to write reviews. What I would love is in the review section, if you have time and if you're able to write a review, let me know just a couple things about your faith or maybe what your faith means to you. Maybe a cool faith story of your own, something that has solidified your faith or affirmed your faith or challenged your faith or brought you to faith. Put it in the review section with a 5-star rating. And I think Heidi and I have been talking about maybe doing a segment where we read some of those and share some of those on an upcoming episode. Just to, again, to say thank you to the people that are watching, because We are nothing without you guys. If you like today, please share it with a friend. Send it over a text, share it on your social media. As always, you can find me on social media at Adam Duxter across all platforms. I am there. I'd love to connect with you and get to know you all a little bit better. Folks, this is a super fun episode. Her website is literally Sheletta Makes Me Laugh, and I think she will make you laugh in this conversation. So here she is, Sheletta Brundidge. Well, we now welcome on a very special guest, someone who almost needs no introduction, because I feel like, before we even get going, I feel like you've got like Elvis, Pink,
Mariah, Whitney,
Beyonce,
Michael,
one name.
Oprah, one name.
That's all you need.
One name.
It's Sheletta.
It's Sheletta. Hey, how you doing, brother?
What's up, Sheletta? It's Sheletta. For people who don't know, Sheletta Brundidge. I was trying to figure out the best way to introduce you, and I just kept adding titles. It's like Emmy Award-winning comedian, radio host, journalist, advocate, speaker, community leader, mom. What else? Am I missing anything?
And Christian.
Let's go.
Let's go.
That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, I think for people who live in the Twin Cities, whether they know it or not, they've either seen you or seen something that you're attached to. You are physically everywhere. For people who have never met you, what do they need to know about you?
That I'm a mom. I'm a community servant. I'm a servant leader. And I'm a Christian. You know, you can put all those titles up there. You can put up podcast entrepreneur. You can put up author. You can put up host. You can put up comedian. You can put up Emmy Award winner. Any of those things. But, you know, the lowest common denominator is that I'm saved. I have faith and believe in Jesus. And that goes with me whether I am in a newsroom or I am out in community, whether I am writing a book or whether I am speaking at an event, whether I'm on stage doing comedy or I'm hosting my radio show or a guest on your podcast. Jesus is always with me.
Your story starts not in Minnesota, which is also something I admire about you, because you've managed to do all this here
without knowing anybody,
coming in
without knowing a soul,
a blank slate.
A blank slate.
But for people who haven't met you or don't know your story, Texas, right?
I was born and raised in Houston, Texas, and had planned to live and die there. I had not planned on coming to Minnesota. I did not know what Minnesota was on a map. Had never visited here, had never, don't have any friends or family here. And so it was 2004. And the guy I was dating at the time, he had just graduated from medical school. And he decided that he was going to come here because Fairview was recruiting African-American healthcare professionals. And so he came here, he got a job, I followed. Because let me tell you something, I had been working on that man and getting him right and straight for 3 years. I was not about to let the black women of Minnesota take the man that I had beat that man down, got him in the ground. He was good. He was obedient. He was wholesome. He was going to church. I was like, I have not done all this work to let somebody else reap the benefits. Brother, make room. I'm going.
Yeah.
And so moved up here with him, and he just happened to move across the street from KSTP. He had no idea. And so I was like, oh, is that a TV station? He was like, don't get any ideas. You're just coming for the weekend. I think he was trying to break up with me. And so, and so when he went off to work, I got dressed because I had one dress. We, were going to church that Sunday. I had one dress. And so I walked over to KSTP. This was a long time ago, back in the olden days. And before the cell phone, you could just text. Back then, you had to press 2-3 times to get to see in order to text. And so I went over there and I said, who's your news director? And they said, Chris Berg. And I said, well, where is he? They said, he's in the newsroom. I said, tell him Sheletta's here. I know that man. And they said, does he know you? I said, he's going to love me. Wow. And they said, okay. So they called. They were like, yes, a black lady. She's short hair. Yeah, kind of short. She's got on a dress. Like, she's coming for an interview. Are you sure you don't know her? Okay. They were like, he'll be up in just a second. And so when he came up, he said, do I know you? I said, I am an assignments editor. And he was like, well, let's go. Come on downstairs. And what you and I know, and some of your listeners and viewers may not know, is an assignment editor is a very special skill set that's needed to run a newsroom. Mm-hmm. The assignments editor is the air traffic controller of the newsroom. And at the time, I'd been doing it for 4 years. Now, 20 years, in the business, 20 plus years in the business, I had been doing it at that time for 4. And so he knew what I knew, is that as an assignments editor, that's somebody you need to run your newsroom. And if they can do it successfully, you've got good shows, you've got #1 broadcast, you've got connections in community, they've got the backstory, they know how to read a booking log, they know how to get the reporters done, they know how to get the photographers together, they know where to put that chopper up, they know where the live shots need to be. He was like, you come on. Come with me. She's good. He told the security, she's good. Come with me. And so when my then boyfriend, now ex-husband, got off from work, he couldn't find me because I was in the basement at KSTP pitching stories. So this was right around the time Scott Peterson had killed his wife, Lacey. And so he came home and the door was open and he couldn't figure out where I was and my clothes were everywhere. So he thought somebody had come in and got me.
Wow.
He called my mama and he was like, your daughter's missing. And she was like, you better find my baby. And he was like, okay. He called the police. 911, what's your emergency? My girlfriend came to visit me and she's gone. They were like, sir, she's a grown adult woman. Could she have gone for a walk? He was like, she hates walks. She don't know nobody here. She don't have a car. This was before the Uber and the light rail. He was like, she is missing. They were like, okay, 24 hours.
Yeah.
And call us back, then we'll help you search for her. And so he's sitting there worried, thinking something happened to me and he's going to get blamed for it and he's going to jail.
Yeah.
And so I walk through the door. He's so happy to see me that he forgets he was going to break up with me that weekend, okay? And I walk through the door with a job.
Wow. You're like, I am not missing. I'm gainfully employed.
I'm gainfully employed. Move your stuff over in the closet, brother. You now have a roommate. And so long story short, we wound up getting married and had, 4 beautiful children. 3 of them have autism. And so Minnesota is a wonderful place to raise a family, to start over. When they say Minnesota nice, that is not a lie. I mean, people like Kevin Berger, Chad Hartman, Kathy Werzer, people who didn't know me from a can of paint, saw a gift in me, saw that there was something special in me, and they opened their doors and their contacts and gave me opportunities that allowed me to be successful. If they had not co-signed on me and said, this black woman can be trusted, this black woman can do the job, this black woman is worth her weight in gold, I wouldn't be sitting here today. Blessed, millionaire, multi-million-dollar media company with all these platforms that I'm on, with these best-selling children's books. I would probably still be on that desk. And the reason that they did that for me, and the reason that I'm here right now, is because of God, because of prayers, because of angels. The Lord had to put me on their heart so that when I showed up, they already knew something in their spirit was like, there's something special about this girl. That doesn't happen because I'm special. That happens because God is special.
So if that is your Minnesota origin story, what is your faith origin story? When do you remember early? Was it early in life or?
Well, I'm from down south, the Bible Belt. And so we do church different than y'all do church up here. Like y'all in Minnesota, y'all give y'all kids options. Do you want to go to church today? There was no, do you want to go to church today? And I don't ever remember even not being a Christian. Like the earliest memories and photos that I have are me 2, 3, 4 years old going to church. That was our life. Being in church, being in worship, that was just what we did. It was like breathing. And so we woke up on Sundays and we went to church. In fact, we did a Wednesday after school, we went to church. Thursday, we went to church. Friday, we went to church. And there was no option. There was no talking back. There was no grimacing. There was no eye rolling. And church was our happy place. It was our safe space. It was where black people, especially during the times when I grew up in the 70s, it's where we found our community. It's where we were important and special. There was a time in this country where black people could not look at a white person in the eye. That we are sitting here today because Dr. King had a dream. You know what I mean? That this was not possible when, I was growing up as a little girl in the 70s. And so being in church gave us validation. My grandmother who cleaned offices and couldn't look white people in the eye, was a leader in the church. You know, my uncles and, you know, the men in our family, they were deacons. And so they would drive somebody around all week, but in church, they were important men. And so we found a lot of validation in the church. And so, you know, people wonder why black folks ain't going to church no more. It's because we've now found validation in the world. You know, the church was at one time the only place a black man or a black woman can be validated. And now we're on 3 generations of unchurched black people. That's never happened in the history of this country. And that's because we found validation in work and in community and in society. That wasn't always the case. And that's why for many, many years, we ran to the church. Because that was our safe space. That's where we went, you know, to get away from picking cotton in the fields. That's where we went when the world was turning against us and burning down. That's where we went to raise our children and our families. And that's where we have to get back to, right? With everything that's going on in this country right now. We've got to get back to God. That we've got to find our baseline. Suicides are higher in the black community than they've ever been. And that's because we've turned away from what was always our stabilizing force, and that was God. And so there was never a time in my life where I did not go to church.
It's interesting, though, because I feel like I've heard people who say if you grow up in church, at some point it has to become like real for you, right? It has to be an active decision. I'm not being brought here. I'm coming here. I'm
right. And I remember, like, I was in my 20s and got baptized. And I remember when I realized that Jesus was real. So I don't really share this story with anybody, but we're talking about faith, right? And so I was a latchkey kid. See, now parents, they go everywhere with the kids. They take them to school. They bring them home. They go with them. They sit outside the tennis match. They sit outside the practices. They're in the hockey stadium. They watching. They bring them home. You know, when I was coming up, there's a key under the mat. Mama worked. She was on the bus. Daddy worked. You know, we had one car. And so he, you know, was doing his thing. And so he didn't get home until late, right? And Mama was on the bus. So she got home after we got home from school. But we were responsible kids. You know, we had little neighbors. They sat on the porch and they watched us come in. And so I'm the oldest. So I was always out front. You know, my cousins and my brother were behind. And so I would take great delight in leaving them. You know, because they were little kids. They was in kindergarten. I was in, you know, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade or whatever. And so one day I came home. My siblings and my cousins were behind me. Since I was the oldest, everybody came to my house. And I got under the mat, got the key, and I unlocked the door. And I went inside. And my neighbor who was on the porch, who was supposed to watch us come in, she got a phone call. And this before, you know, the phone was hooked to the wall. You know, you had to get up and go inside. And so she went up to go inside. And at just that moment, there was a man who ran into our house, and I was in there by myself. My brother, my cousins, they hadn't even come around the corner yet. And so I was inside the house, and he ran inside, big giant man, and he picked me up, 8-year-old, 9-year-old girl, and put me on the sink. And I didn't know what to expect. I'm frozen. Miss Lena May, who's supposed to be watching us come in, she in the house talking on the phone. And I didn't know what to do. I knew that I was in trouble. I didn't know whether to scream. I didn't know whether to try to fight or run or whatever, right? And so at that moment, a picture that had been hanging on the wall of our home hit the ground. The man heard that, and he ran out of the house. And so when they saw him run out of the house, Miss Lena May was on the porch at this time. She started screaming for the neighborhood guys to chase him down, and they took him to the police station.
Wow.
Now, that picture had not been bothering anybody. That picture had been on that wall for 9 years. How is it that at just that moment, that picture that was on that wall hit the ground and shattered the glass? Enough to scare that man in that moment.
Wow.
To run out of the house and not rape, kill, and hide my 8, 9-year-old body.
Wow.
That's when I knew Jesus was real.
You put it together in that moment. You're like, that is God
I
protecting
said,
me.
Jesus just saved my life. Because I've been in church since I was 2 years old.
Wow.
So I know God's handiwork. I had been hearing about it in Sunday school. I had been reading about it in Bible study. I had been told about it from pastors and elders in my church. I said, Jesus is real. He really does have angels. He is really everywhere. He can protect us. He does take care of us when we can't take care of ourselves. And I hold on to that story when I can't find a way out, when I'm worried about my own kids in school, when I don't know whether or not this business thing is going to work out, when I get a diagnosis from a doctor. I say, if the Lord can send angels to 8-year-old Sheletta, he can take care of 48, 49, 50, 51-year-old Sheletta. He can meet her teenage son in college and make him mine and go to class. He can meet her autistic daughter in class and keep her safe from somebody who might try to bully her and she can't talk to tell it. So I have the kind of faith that believes that anything is possible. But you have to have an experience like that to know that anything is really possible with God.
You talked about your grandma and your uncles and everyone that was there with you in Texas. Mm-hmm. I can only imagine how hard it was to leave everything behind.
Oh, my God.
In Texas.
It was difficult. It was horrible. It was almost terrorizing. Like, where am I going? What is going to be there to greet me? How is this going to work out? I got these kids. I don't have no babysitters because I don't trust people. So I can't have my mama to take care of them. My daddy's not here to pick them up from school. It's all on me. Now, what we talked about when we first started this, you were like, you are literally everywhere. How am I everywhere and raising these kids? God, Jesus. Calling on the Lord, and he provides for me. So I don't have my mama, but I have Jesus. I don't have my daddy, but I have Jesus. And knowing that I have the Lord on my side, I don't worry about how things are going to work out because he's always going to work everything out for my good.
How quickly did it take you to find a new faith community in Minnesota?
0 minutes. Zero.
As long as it took you to find a job.
Right. Literally, like my ex-husband, he had already gone to a church. And he said, there's this pastor, and he's so funny. And, I'm a comedian, and so humor is so important to me. Being lighthearted, you can lead with love. There are a lot of faith communities where, they're not leading with love. You come to the church and the ushers mean, the pastors mean, the members are mean. They're not very welcoming and warm. And so, when he told me that there was a pastor here and Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church in North Minneapolis named Reverend Albert Gallman, and he was preaching a sermon, and he incorporated conjunction junction. What's your function? I said, God dog it, that's my church right there.
That's awesome.
I told my ex-husband, I said, don't join that church until I get there. I said, because we got to join together because I want all the women in church to see that you got a woman. So do not join that church until I get there.
Has it been 22 years at that church, or have you moved around?
No, we anchored right there. We were married there. We baptized our son there. We got divorced there. I was at that church for probably 24 years.
Wow.
And now we're at Sanctuary Covenant Church with Reverend Edrin Williams. And Reverend Edrin was the youth pastor at Fellowship. So it's kind of part of the Fellowship family.
How would you describe church culture in Minnesota versus church culture in Texas? Is there a difference?
Y'all do church different. Yeah. Y'all don't stay all day. In Texas, we stay all day. We come in the morning and we don't leave until, late in the afternoon or evening. So church here is very structured. Like in Texas, if we down south and we feeling the Holy Ghost, we might be there 2-3 more extra hours, right? We running around the church, we praising the Lord. And here, church going to start at 9. It's going to be over at 10:30. Next service starts at 11. It's going to be over at 12:30. And so I miss that. I miss allowing the Spirit to flow. And another thing is churches in Minnesota, the choir takes a sabbatical off during the summer. I was like, how you going to take a break on Jesus? What are y'all doing over here? And so down south, it's so traditional. We still wear choir robes, and we have a full choir, 100-200 people. And here, they have praise teams. So it may be like 4, 5, 6 people. There are very few churches that have full choirs. In fact, I had a block party for my birthday last year at the site where Renee Good was killed. Some of the neighbors asked me, they said, will you, because I went out there several times for different events and things, and they said, can you bring us a choir? I was like, I am not a music booker, okay?
Yeah.
I don't know nothing about no choir. And I had the hardest time finding a choir to get out to the site for the event. So it was my birthday. We had a block party. I brought a food truck, and I brought Progressive Baptist Church. They have a full choir. And so I brought them, and we had prayer service. We had choir. We fed people just to bring some light and love to the community.
What about, you mentioned, obviously, Texas, the Bible Belt. So that goes beyond just the church building. It is the culture.
It is the culture. It is the culture.
What was there culture shock coming to Minnesota? Because I can only imagine, you hear how people are closed off just in general in Minnesota. The Minnesota Nice is passive aggressive. It is, surface level, but people are very closed, especially to outsiders traditionally.
And see, that's the beautiful thing about me. I don't know when people don't like me. I don't know when people don't want me around. Like, that is a blessing and a curse. And so I'm meeting people. I'm like, hey, how you doing? What's your name? Where you live? I'm coming over to your house on Sunday. And before they know it, I have invited myself to their home. Like, hey, how you doing? You got kids? I got kids. Let's do a play date. And before you know it, before they realize it, we are at Edinburgh Park doing the indoor playground.
Yep.
So I walk right up to people. And my spirit testifies to their spirit, and before they know it, we friends. Like I didn't, and some people may have that, like if they're shy or reserved, but I didn't, because whenever I met somebody and I knew that the Lord wanted us to connect and be friends, I almost forced myself on people, and they don't really have a choice. They're going to be my friend. You're going to love me whether you want to or not. And so I never had that problem because I just forced myself on people. And before they know it, we good best friends, and they don't really have a choice but to love me.
You mentioned your kids. That is such an integral part of your story. Everywhere you go, you are putting them first, which I think is awesome as a parent. But for your kids to be diagnosed on the autism spectrum, what does that do in the moment when it's new and it's fresh? And
it devastates you.
Yeah.
It devastates you. I remember thinking, why is God punishing me? Like, I remember thinking, Lord, I have done it right. I have 4 kids. They all had the same baby daddy. I waited until after I was married to have my children. I go to church. I pay my tithes. I read my Bible. I say my prayers. Why are you punishing me? I got 1 cousin. She got 1 baby, and that baby got 4 daddies, okay? And ain't nothing wrong with the baby. The baby is talking and laughing and playing. And here I got 4 kids, 1 baby daddy, and 3 of them don't talk. What is going on? And the Lord said, I'm not punishing you. I'm giving you a position. The position is mother. Now you go out here and get your kids right and then help somebody else. Well, I can't go out here and write a book or speak at an event or mentor another parent whose child is recently diagnosed with autism if they don't see some progress in my kids, right? And so I was literally under the table drinking. Like, I stopped eating. You can't look at me now and tell it because I got my maternity pants on because I'm eating good. But I was 98 pounds. So thin that I couldn't shave under my arms. Like, people will walk up from behind because I got this short haircut, and they would call me sir until I turned around. Don't let them Kardashians fool you. When you start losing weight like that, the boobs are the first thing to go. Okay? Don't let them Kardashians fool you because they be losing 100 pounds with them big boobs. It is a trick of the enemy, okay? I was sitting up here looking like a whole teenage boy because I stopped eating. I wasn't doing nothing but drinking because I thought this is a respectable way to kill myself. If you just stop eating and you die, that's respectable. I'm not sitting in the car with the carbon monoxide. Wow. I'm not going to kill myself with a gun. I'm not going to take no pills. I'm just going to stop eating so that way I can show up for my kids every day. I can show up, to church and nobody will notice. And that's when the Lord had to tap me on the shoulder and say, I got you.
Wow.
Get out here and bless your kids. Get out here and show the world what it looks like. How are you going to be a representation of Jesus and be defeated? That is not the God you serve. So that's when I started getting the ABA therapy for my children through the Lovas Institute and working with the teachers and making sure that they had access to services and resources and all the stuff that they needed to be successful. And so then once people start seeing the once nonverbal, couldn't look at you, couldn't make eye contact, couldn't talk, couldn't follow simple command kids, talking and following commands and being in theater and writing books and being in plays at school and making good grades and testing off the spectrum and being in normal developing classrooms. Once people saw that, they said, wait a minute, what are you doing? Come over here and talk. What are you doing? Come over here and write a book. What are your kids? How they come over here and be a feature keynote at this event? Now people want to hear what I have to say because they see the proof. They see God's glory. You know, and God said in the Bible, he'll do anything you ask him to do so that he'll get the glory. He'll be glorified. Right? And so when I say, hey, listen, we prayed, but we also pressed. We prayed, but we also got good therapy. We prayed, but we also got these prescriptions. People were like, okay, they taking notes now. Now I'm a feature keynote. Now they flying me all over the world, Adam, because they want to hear what I have to say. And why? Because the proof is in the pudding. They not listening to me because my kids are still nonverbal and not following commands. They're listening to me, and they want me to talk because there's something special going on over here, and they can't put their finger on it. How all three of the kids got healed. How all three of the kids doing well. How all three of the kids are student council, doing plays, getting new jobs, and all this. What is going on over here? What she got? Well, the lowest common denominator is I got Jesus, right? But then we start stacking everything else on top of that: the therapy, the services, the teachers, the resources, the equipment, all of that stuff goes along with it. But the lowest common denominator is Jesus.
Even beyond that portion of your life, I'm curious to hear from your perspective. The last 6 years in Minnesota have been some of the most trying years for the state. You've been on the forefront, doing many different things. At what point do you feel like that is your calling and your faith in your work kind of coinciding in that way? What do you see as your purpose at this time being here in Minnesota?
To help people. Whether that is entrepreneurs or autism moms or children, whatever it is. My job is to help and make life better. My prayer every day, and sometimes I'll be scared to say the prayer, so I didn't say it today because whenever I say it, God gives me an assignment, and sometimes I don't like the assignment. Yeah. I be talking back to the Lord like my kids be talking back to me, but my prayer almost every day is, Lord, make me the answer to somebody's problem. Like somebody is waking up with a problem. And I want God to know that he could trust me to be the answer to that problem, right? Whether I am hosting a block party on the site where Renee Good was killed, or I'm partnering with Sweet Martha's to help the Annunciation family get some of her cookies, whether I'm out here buying a van for somebody who is a business owner, but their van broke down and now they can't afford a new one and they got deliveries to make, whatever it is, or shining a light on somebody, with the platforms that I have, whatever it is, my job is to help make life better for somebody else. And I pray that the Lord can continue to trust me to do that, because every day I wake up, I miss the mark. You know what I mean? Every day I wake up, I don't get it right. But I'm praying that, he's a God of fifth, second chances, because I think I'm on my fifth, second chance right now. And just to keep helping wherever that help is. And then I'm really lean on my faith. I really go in that prayer closet every day and I say, Lord, where you want me to show up? And I mean, he never fails to give me an assignment. I was recently at the JFK Presidential Library Foundation Award. They gave to the citizens of the Twin Cities the Profiles and Courage Award that they give away annually. And so I ain't had no business there. I'm not on stage. I don't know why the Lord wants me in the room. And so anytime I do something special, I always create these jackets. The Sheletta jackets, a special one-of-a-kind jackets. And whenever I show up in my little jacket, with all the stuff on it, Minneapolis on one side, St. Paul on the other side, stuff on the back. And the Lord said, make two. And I said, why am I making 2? I ain't got but 1 back. But I went ahead and made 2 jackets. And so I'm leaving my hotel on the way to the award ceremony at the JFK Library. The Lord said, get the jacket. Don't forget the jacket. I said, okay. So I'm wearing one, holding the other. So I get in there, and somebody said, Renee Good's sister and brother and father are here. Her mom didn't come because it's just too much. But they're over at table, whatever. And I said, okay. So I go up to them, and they're sitting down, and I'm, being funny because I like to be funny and joke. I said, hey, are you sitting down? And they were like, yeah. I was like, okay, you sitting down. I got something I want to show you. Are you ready? Are you ready for this? Are you sitting down? They were like, what is it? They don't know me. They think I'm the village crazy lady now, right? And so I turn around, and I show them this jacket.
Oh, wow.
And it has Renee and Alex on the bottom of the jacket, right? Yeah. And so they were like, wow, our mom's not here, but she would love that jacket.
Wow.
I said, well, there you go. Hold on, I got something for you. So I went back to my table because I had the jacket draped on my chair, and I brought it to them.
Wow.
Yesterday, Renee Good's mom sent me a text message. She's wearing the jacket.
Wow.
So walking in my purpose helped make me making somebody smile. She said, I needed that hug. Mm-hmm. I needed the hug of this jacket today. Thank you so much. But I don't get that assignment unless I'm praying. Yeah. Unless I'm tuned in with the Lord. Unless also I'm obedient. I didn't have to tell Renee's brother and sister, give me your address. I'll mail you one in 7 to 10 business days. I was able to give it to them right then at that moment. Imagine how bad I would have felt if they said my mother would have loved that jacket and I would not have been obedient. And I wouldn't have that spare jacket. And I would say, you know what, Lord, this is goofy. I don't need a jacket. I got a jacket. I'm not doing another one. This is crazy. I must be talking to myself, and moved on. Do you see what I'm saying? Like the obedience is so important in this Christian walk, because you never know how the Lord is going to use you. But you have to stay prayed up. But to get the assignment, to know what to do, to be obedient, so that the person that's waiting on you to do what you're supposed to do is on the other side of this.
What do you think is next? I mean, I know it's a loaded question.
It is loaded
because you've done so much. But do you have a dream or a goal or something that you've been thinking about for a while, where you say, if I could only do this, or this is what I'm working towards?
Somebody told me the other day, 0 to 30 are your learning years. Where you're figuring out life. Who am I? What am I about? Am I going to be a person of character and integrity? Am I going to, be a shyster? Am I going to graduate from college? Am I going to even go to college? Am I going to get a trade? Those are your learning years. What kind of friend am I going to be? What kind of husband do I want to be? What kind of wife do I want to be? What kind of neighbor am I going to be? And then 30 to 60 are your earning years, right? Where you got the education, the skills, the experience that you need, and you go out here and you kill it. You earn all the money. You make a name for yourself. You do what it is that you were assigned to do by the Lord, and you take up the mantle and you help others, right? Because people are looking at you, whether you know it or not. They're trying to see how you're doing it, who you doing it with, what's the driving force behind you, how are you making it happen? Because, look, I'm not supposed to be here. I am the product of a teenage mother. I grew up in the projects. I'm the first person in my family to graduate from college. I'm not supposed to have this money. I'm not supposed to have these platforms. I'm supposed to be an unwed mother still in the projects. But because of the Lord and his grace and mercy, I've been levitating all these years, right? And so during my earning years, I'm able to get out here and boss out. I'm able to boss out. And so now I'm 54. 60 to whenever the Lord calls you home, those are your returning years. You know what I mean? So I had my learning years, 0 to 30. I'm in my earning years, 30 to 60. I'm looking forward to my returning years. I'm looking forward to retirement.
Let's go.
I'm looking forward to having a vacation home somewhere in another country. I'm looking forward to watching my children graduate from college. I did not know that you weren't supposed to work and then die. So I want to enjoy it while I can still walk up the stairs. I want to enjoy it while I can still get on a plane by myself without wheelchair assistance and fly off to another country and spend a month there. You know, I'm watching some of my friends that I was able to make here in Minnesota, like John Hemley and Karen Hemley and Kevin Berger, in their retirement travel and do amazing things. That's not something that I saw. Like my family, where we're from, we work until we die.
Yeah.
Right? And I want the luxury of being able to afford to enjoy all of my earning years. So I'm going to jump off this wheel at 60 and I'm going to enjoy my returning years and show the young people in my family what that looks like.
How can people get connected with you? I know we've said it a few times, you're everywhere.
I'm everywhere,
but
all at the same time.
If people want to follow your journey or connect with you, what's the best way they can do that?
They can do that at ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com. That's my website, ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com. Right at the top of the homepage, it says, join Sheletta's online family. You know, I got off social media because it became so toxic, but people were begging me for daily social media posts. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a newsletter. I'm going to take it back to the old school. Remember we used to have old school newsletters? So every day at 11 o'clock, you get a newsletter in your email inbox, and it's all about what I'm doing, where I am, what I think is funny. I'm weighing in on different things. It's all faith-based, right, because I'm a Christian, but it's really what I would normally post on social media. And so people find it uplifting. They find it enlightening. They love getting it, but ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com is where I live. That's where my podcasts are, my books. You want to book me to speak at an event. You want to hire me to do whatever it is that I do. You can find me right there.
Sheletta, it's been awesome. I am someone who's, again, seen you work for so long now as I've been in the Twin Cities, but getting to know even just this side and hearing these stories from you is really cool. And thank you for taking the time to come join us and to share your story.
Well, I need to thank you because you have us talking. You know, we talked about this before we hit record, and, you know, we need to say this, is that, you know, everybody's going in their neutral corners and nobody is having difficult conversations or having varied conversations. And, you know, what you're doing with this podcast is you're allowing us to get to know our neighbors and the different faith communities here in the Twin Cities. You know, I was telling you before we start talking, I didn't know Muslim people couldn't eat pork. You know, I'm working at KSTP, one of my fellow assignments desk editors. I'm his new best black friend. And I told him he got to try Popeyes before he could be my friend. And I went to Popeyes to get him something to eat. And he wanted to know what the little specks were in the mashed potatoes. I said, I don't know. He said, is this pork? I said, maybe. I didn't know. Right? My friend Jordana, who was on your show, I didn't know anything about the Jewish faith. And so watching these podcasts, listening to these podcasts, I'm learning so much about different faiths so that I can respect them, right? So that I won't do anything to offend them, right? So that I can learn more. And you're bringing those conversations to light. Nobody else is doing that. So, you know, hats off to you and your production team. That's Heidi, right?
Yeah.
Heidi is doing an amazing job producing these shows, and your boss for also seeing the vision and, you know, putting some dollars and some resources behind that. Like, this is so important that we have these conversations, and you never know how it's going to benefit someone in community. So, you know, congratulations on the show, but thank you for doing this.
Sheletta, you just got the greatest promo reel for this show. Say less. That is what Sheletta does when she comes in the building.
Yes.
She hypes you up.
Hypes you up. I'm your biggest cheerleader and fan.
Thank you, Sheletta. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Well, I promised it, and I hope it delivered. That was a super fun interview, and Sheletta, it really is a ton of fun. She is a ball of energy. She is a bundle of joy no matter where she goes, and it was really fun having her here in the studio. Again, if you like that episode, please give us a 5-star rating, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you are. And of course, leave a review and click that follow button if you haven't already so you don't miss an episode. We post them every single Thursday. You don't want to miss because we've got some awesome stuff coming up through the month of June. Hey, folks, I'm just trying to make it through this month-long June challenge that we're doing. If anyone has any advice about drinking this much water every single day, please let me know. Folks, this was fun. We'll see you again next Thursday, June 18th. In the meantime, be well, and we will see you very soon.
Love podcasts? Love Minnesota?
Check out the WCCO podcast studio lineup.
Hear the top stories of the day with 4 things to know.
Discover top female athletes and teams from around the state on Women in Sports.
Dive into stories about faith and belief, from your local leaders to your neighbors next door, with Bigger Than Belief.
Stay in the know on the go with the WCCO podcast studio. Go to WCCO.com/podcasts.